I'm here this evening to introduce a major new effort in the area of social progress and social entrepreneurship that we hope will become a core part of the infrastructure for social change and for the social entrepreneurship field in the coming years. This effort, as so much in this field, owes a tremendous amount to Jeff Skoll and the Skoll Foundation, who've been one of the pioneering kind of visionaries and supporters behind this effort. The effort is first and foremost about measurement. If we can't measure success robustly and rigorously, it's very hard to make the most rapid progress. So we've got to learn to measure better the social progress we're achieving. And that's what we have come to call the Social Progress Index, that I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. But the effort is not just about measurement, it's also about catalyzing action at the grassroots level, not only to change success rates at the country level, but also to make the measurement better and better and better. And I want to invite all of you here to participate in this effort. What we're launching here at the forum this year is what I would call version 1. But this is a never-ending process of more deeply and more completely and more rigorously understanding success in social progress, how we can measure it better, and how we can use those measurements to drive change. Now, the kind of starting point for this thinking, I think, is something that this group really needs almost no explanation for. I think we all understand now, even those of us in business and who are deeply involved in economic development and competitiveness, which I have been for 30 years. I think we are all beginning to understand how incomplete our understanding of development has been, how limited our understanding about the role of business and its impact on social change has been. I think we're seeing whole new opportunities. We've long understood that although economic development is beneficial for social progress, generally, it's not sufficient. We also understand that certain kinds of economic development is contrary or threatening to social progress. We're understanding how it's not only that economic development drives social progress, but if we really understand how to create social progress, that actually allows and enables economic development. We're understanding that more and more. And we're also understanding that kind of separating business and competition in business from social progress and societal issues really was a tremendous mistake. Some of the greatest opportunities for business are in tackling social issues and social challenges using the business model. In order to redress this lack of understanding, this lack of insight, we are trying to now take measurement in this field to a different level. We all understand that GDP is insufficient. We've got to go beyond GDP. We have to learn to measure social progress directly and comprehensively and rigorously. And that's what this effort is setting out to do. Now, it's not that nobody's tried to do this before. There's a whole variety of existing efforts which we applaud, which are pioneering, which have blazed the trail. You know, the grandfather is the Human Development Index, a real breakthrough in trying to add human and social dimensions to measuring success. The Legatum Prosperity Index, many of you know about, the OECD Better Life Index. All of these have tried to add social dimensions to measuring success in countries and in economies. And then, of course, there's the effort to capture the notion of happiness that has now taken a root and is spreading. But all of these efforts, as good as they are really only a start. they're looking at limited dimensions of social progress. And they suffer from other obstacles and challenges that we in this effort are going to try to overcome. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do. Now, to measure social progress and to measure it comprehensively, which is our intention, we have to have a definition of what we mean by social progress. Our working definition is here for you to read. It's a broad definition. It includes not only meeting basic human needs, but also building certain kinds of foundations and infrastructure in societies to allow communities and individuals to improve their well-being and improve their lives. And it also encompasses the notion of opportunity and choice and freedom and inclusion, and having the tools available to kind of reach the full potential of any individual. Social progress is a very complex, multidimensional phenomenon, but we have to learn how to see it holistically. We can't see it in silos, in little single issues. So as a working definition, this is where we started. Now, how do we translate this broad definition of social progress into a way of measuring? Well, this proves, of course, to be very, very challenging. In order to do that, we have come to believe that there's some fundamental principles of measurement that we have to really apply in this domain that have not yet been applied before. Number one is we've got to separate the social outcomes from the economic outcomes. Virtually all the efforts in this field to go beyond GDP still have the GDP. They still have economic variables together with social variables, but that conflates what's really going on. We know that economic success has a positive, generally positive impact on most social indicators. But unless we separate the economic and the social, we're not going to be able to really sort out what's going on, what causes what the relationships are, and how to make sense of this complicated phenomena. Secondly, we believe that any measure of social progress must start with measuring outcomes. So many efforts to measure social progress really look at inputs, how much we spend, what policy we put in place. But of course, as important as those things are, what really matters is the results, the outcomes. And so this index, this measurement system is really based only on outcomes, how well people and communities actually do. And this really goes way beyond most of the existing efforts, which either are very input focused or they mix inputs and outputs in the same framework. And of course, when you mix inputs and outputs, it's very hard to sort out what's causing what's going on, whether you're really succeeding. So we have set out to try to address that problem. We have built then a holistic framework to try to identify the specific dimensions within this broad concept of social progress in a way that's hopefully clear and will allow debate and discussion and allows us to separate different kinds of social progress that are applicable at all levels of development. And of course, we want a framework that can be relevant to all countries. We're not just looking at social progress in poor countries. We want to look at social progress in some holistic sense because we want to understand the whole trajectory of development and what we can learn from countries at all stages in that process. Our working framework that we'll be releasing results on at 12:01 this evening looks like this. Social progress we conceive of as having three fundamental components. One is meeting basic human needs. There's a number of dimensions of that, which you see here on this slide. For each of these dimensions, we found the best available outcome measures we can for capturing these areas. In the middle has to do with building blocks or foundations of well-being, which would include things like wellness and health, which would include things like access to communication, access to knowledge, and a whole set of environmental determinants of whether you have a sustainable community in which people can live. Again, under each of these components, there are multiple indicators. And then the third big concept is the notion of opportunity. Can an individual rise to their full potential? Do they have the freedom to do that? Or is there the inclusion to allow that? Is there access to the higher forms of education which allow people to reach those heights of whatever they're interested and able to achieve? And again, there's multiple dimensions of that. And we've assembled the best available indicators we can find of that, of those concepts. In all, there are 50 different indicators underlying these dimensions that ultimately roll into this overall assessment of social progress at the country level. Does this framework capture everything? I'm sure it doesn't. But it's the most comprehensive framework we've ever had. Can we improve on it? You bet. And we will, and particularly with your help. Our initial effort has covered 50 countries. These 50 countries are most, if not all, of the large important countries, but also represent as many countries as we could get good, rigorous, comprehensive data that we trusted for. We'd like to do many more countries. And part of this effort will be to drive the scale of this to more and more countries over time as we catalyze the improvement of data, the measurement of some of these indicators in more and more places. And we've had some promising success already in achieving that. If we understand comprehensively how countries are doing on this complex set of social progress indicators, we start to get a sense, we start to be able to understand, how are these things connected? How do they evolve with development? Who's particularly good at this? Who's particularly good at that? All of a sudden, a whole world of progress and insight is open to us that we have not had before. Where we've tended to look at individual issues with a limited amount of data and comparative evidence to consider. Now, what are some of the results of this? Well, the results are to be released tonight, but let me tell you a couple of the highlights. Number one, there's a wide range of performance on social progress in this world. And it's not completely explained by economic success. There are very high-income countries that are not doing very well on social progress. There are relatively low-income countries that are doing remarkably well on social progress. There's an enormous gap between income and social progress. These things are not the same. And we're now in a position to show some of the differences and some of the learning about those differences. We see countries at the same level of income with very different sets of social progress outcomes. We see even the most advanced countries with serious problems to address. So this effort truly illustrates that every country has an agenda here, no matter how wealthy it is or where it is today. And we're now in a position to really identify and prioritize within each country kind of where the key agenda items lay, really at a holistic and a more strategic level. We find that as income goes up in relatively poor countries, you can have very rapid progress in social progress. But as you get to high income and income gets higher and higher, actually you start facing serious headwinds. And there's really a deceleration of social progress in real high income countries, even though the absolute level of performance is still well below perfection. So there's lots of interesting results that we will share with you tonight and over the course of the week about individual countries, about relationships, about trends in the various dimensions of social progress. And again, we invite your reflections, your critique, your pushback, your puzzlement, your excitement, whatever you feel. We invite that. We want to know. This is a multi-year ongoing process where I think we've gotten off to a good start, but we have a long, long way to go. The next steps here are, first of all, to continually improve the measurement process, and I've stressed that already. We need feedback on the measures. We need feedback on what's in the framework. We need feedback on how we can get data developed for individual countries that you might have connections with or you might be able to influence. We can improve the measurement framework. We can enrich it. We can make it more rigorous. We can expand the sample over time. And we want to do that. But we also have an aspiration here, and I think this room is full of people with this aspiration. We want to get something done. We want to create some change. This is not measurement for its own sake. This is measurement to enable action, to enable insight, to enable change, to enable people on the ground to be more effective in pursuing the aims that they have. And that includes social entrepreneurs on the ground, who now I think will be armed with a new set of data, hopefully that's credible and rigorous, to really justify the commitments that you have to particular issues in particular countries. We intend and are already creating a decentralized network, country by country, of organizations that are really committed to understand the results for the country, disseminate them, lobby for change, and otherwise advance the agenda at that country level. And again, some very promising beginnings are already in place. But we invite your participation. This is something that I have become extremely passionate about. I think we can have a breakthrough here. We're starting to see a breakdown or a bridge between the kind of economic development folks and the social progress folks. We're starting to see business start to see social issues not as CSR that you put on the side, but they're starting to see social issues as something fundamental to them and their success and their economic opportunity. I think we have an opportunity here to get a breakthrough. We have an opportunity to kind of, with this kind of rigorous evidence, I think, to kind of make a leap in terms of our rate of progress. And we're very hopeful with your help that we can achieve that over the coming years. You know, I, for many years, was the co-chair of the Global Competitiveness Report, which is kind of the Bible of how you measure competitiveness. And I saw with my own eyes how much impact having that rigorous, granular measurement framework was to catalyzing change at the country level. An enormous amount happened when countries could kind of look comprehensively at their economies and say, where are we? What are we doing well? What are we doing poorly? How do we stand in this area, in this area, in this area, in this area? I'm confident, given that experience and given the energy of all of you, and I think the kind of intellectual synthesizing that's starting to go on in this broad field, that we can see the same kind of step up in progress here. So let me again say how thrilled and pleased I am to be at this meeting, how impressed I am with the energy, with what's been accomplished, with Jeff's top 10 list. Wow. But hopefully this initiative will give us, again, some of the crucial infrastructure to take this even further and even faster. So we invite your participation. Thank you very, very much.